Hey toy collectors, welcome to another super exciting outrageous toy review. Today we're taking a look at the G.I. Joe Ninja Force member, Nunchuk. I think it's a little odd that a guy named Ralph from Brooklyn, New York is part of Ninja Force, but maybe I'm just stereotyping who ninjas are. Heck, after all, in the original continuity, Snake Eyes was a blonde-haired guy, and then again, Karate Kid, played by Ralph Macchio, a Ralph from New York State. Nunchuk's primary military specialty is self-defense instructor, while his secondary military specialty is ordnance. Interesting for a ninja. According to his file card, Nunchuk was trained by a blind master in Denver, then later moved to San Francisco and enrolled in another ninja school where Sensei Storm Shadow noticed his distinctive style and continued his training. Nunchuk was released in 1992 as part of the first wave of Ninja Force. Hasbro felt the need to compete with Ninja Turtles and decided to crank up the ninja quotient in G.I. Joe. The one thing I do have to say that's positive about Nunchuk is at least he wears camouflage, so he is probably the most militaristic of all the Ninja Force guys. He has a black cloth piece hanging off of the back of his head. He's got a black mask and what could either be just part of his mask or maybe a helmet. It's hard to tell what the sculptor had intended with that cap piece that holds the fabric in place. He's got fairly traditional ninja attire underneath that with some load-bearing equipment, some extra pockets, black gloves, and a pistol holster on the side of his leg here that appears to be empty. He did not come with a pistol accessory, so that's maybe less exciting. And then, of course, he's got some black boots. At this point in the G.I. Joe line, action features were becoming more and more popular, with many figures coming with spring-loaded missile launchers. The Ninja Force characters had spring-loaded actions built into them. Nunchuk has a karate chop action built into his arm. Nunchuk has pretty standard G.I. Joe articulation at the head, at his shoulder, and elbow there on the one side, whereas the other side has standard articulation below the elbow, but his shoulder is spring-loaded. He does not have the usual swivel at the waist. There is an O-ring in here, but there are actually tabs built into his waist that kind of lock his body in place. My theory is that the early Ninja Force guys did not have those tabs, and then they found that kids had a lot of problems using the action features because the bodies would just move. The torsos would slide out of the way. And so making the torso more rigid helped with those features. He has traditional G.I. Joe hips and knee articulation. Nunchuk came with a figure stand, which is awesome for ninja characters because you really do want to be able to pose them, doing karate moves. I really am glad that he has pretty good articulation with not having his arms linked together like some characters and having good hips. Some Ninja Force characters like Scarlet and Snake Eyes really couldn't kick. Nunchuk came with a long curved sword. It almost looks like a scimitar. This was unique to him at first, but I believe was later reused on some of the weapon trees for other characters. He also came with a set of nunchucks, which makes total sense based on his namesake. They are made of a slightly flexible plastic, and these would be remolded in several colors for various Ninja Force and Street Fighter characters after Nunchuk. Let's test out that Nunchuk in action. Sha! 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 Alright. Like many of the Ninja Force characters, Nunchuk does not have a back screw because Hasbro didn't want you taking this guy apart and losing the springs that make his internal mechanisms happen. But that does mean that when his O-ring rots, you're going to have a hard time repairing this figure. Like many of the characters in Ninja Force, Nunchuk would get remolded in special plastic that would change color in warm and cold water as part of the Shadow Ninjas. His mold would also be used with a new head to make Raiden from Mortal Kombat. I do feel like the all-white body does show off some of the detail in the sculpt better than the camouflage paint scheme. With the fabric on the back of his head, he always reminded me a little bit of Dusty. With the style of camouflage he wears, he looks like he could almost be a member of Tiger Force. But it's Ninja Force, baby! I never had Nunchuk as a kid, but I do feel like he fits in with G.I. Joe a little better than some of the other Ninja Force characters. Once they remolded him in Shadow Ninja pink plastic, though, they kind of blew any goodwill I had towards the character. By 1992, I was getting very few G.I. Joe figures. I had pretty much moved on to Ninja Turtles, although I still played with all my old G.I. Joe toys that I already owned. So I didn't have Nunchuk, and none of my friends that were a year or two younger than me had him either, so I don't have a big personal connection with this guy. He's not bad looking. He's also not super interesting. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching this super exciting, outrageous toy review. Make sure to like, subscribe, and check out my other videos.